History has a strange rhythm. It repeats itself in whispers and betrayals, in the echo of footsteps that march to someone else's drum. In the late 1970s, Pakistan stood at a crossroads. A general had seized power, promising order in chaos. His name was Zia-ul-Haq. To some, he was a savior, to others, a symbol of darkness. But to the West, he was useful, very useful. When the Soviets invaded Afghanistan, the world looked toward Pakistan, a fragile nation suddenly standing between two empires. The United States needed a partner, a pawn, a shield. Zia became all three. Weapons, money, and promises poured in. Pakistan's soil turned into a chessboard where the Cold War was fought by proxy, and the Afghan mountains became a graveyard for superpowers. For nearly a decade, Zia played the role perfectly. He fought a foreign war without sending his own troops. He armed men who weren't his soldiers. He became the bridge between two ambitions, American strategy and Islamic resistance. And while the West praised him, the price was being written quietly in invisible ink. Because when empires use you, they also calculate the moment they no longer need you. In August 1988, Zia boarded a military plane with his top generals. Moments after takeoff, the aircraft plunged from the sky like a falling star. There were no survivors. The official report said mechanical failure. Unofficially, everyone whispered the same question: who killed him and why? Some said foreign hands. Others pointed inward toward the corridors of power he himself had built. No one ever knew. The truth was buried under wreckage and mangoes, under politics and silence. But the message was clear. Once a puppet fulfills his role, the strings are cut. That day marked more than the death of a man. It was the death of an illusion. The illusion that serving the interests of others could ever guarantee national security. And yet decades later, Pakistan still walks that same narrow bridge between obedience and independence. The faces change, the uniforms change, but the whispers remain. Because history doesn't repeat, it reminds. When Zia's plane fell from the sky, the smoke carried more than debris. It carried a warning, one that Pakistan has yet to truly hear. Because the tragedy of this nation has never been its enemies. It has been its dependents. After Zia's death, the world shifted. The Soviets withdrew from Afghanistan, and America celebrated its victory. The Cold War chapter was closed. The so-called friend who had stood with Pakistan simply turned the page and walked away. Billions of dollars that once flowed through secret channels vanished overnight. Pakistan was left with the aftermath: guns, drugs, extremism, refugees, and a generation scarred by someone else's war. The players had left, but the battlefield remained. That was the moment Pakistan could have rebuilt, redefined, and reimagined its destiny. But history has a way of trapping nations in habits. Each new ruler looked outward before looking inward, seeking approval, aid, or alignment from distant capitals instead of its own people. And so the cycle continued. The generals changed, the politicians changed, but the policy of obedience stayed the same. Each leader promised sovereignty, and each one sold a piece of it for security or survival. Foreign aid became the leash, loans became the chains. Agreements signed in air-conditioned rooms became invisible handcuffs around a struggling nation. And whenever someone dared to question the script, they were silenced, sidelined, or sacrificed. It wasn't always through blood. Sometimes it was through humiliation. Sometimes through corruption planted like poison ivy, slow, creeping, and silent. The methods evolved, but the result was constant: national will bending to foreign interest. The people, meanwhile, kept waiting. They waited for leaders who would speak truth instead of rehearsed lines, for armies that would protect borders instead of power, for justice that would not kneel before influence. But waiting has its own curse. Each decade, the hope of a new beginning turns into the disappointment of the same ending. The same smiling faces, the same secret deals, the same speeches about sacrifice, while the soul of the nation is traded again and again behind closed doors. It's not just betrayal by others. It's the betrayal of our own silence. Because every time a nation forgets its worth, someone else writes its destiny. And so, the spirit of Zia's mysterious death was not buried in 1988. It lingers in the corridors of power even today, whispering to those who think they can control fate by pleasing outsiders. But history remembers differently. Empires forget their servants. Nations forget their warnings, and the price of obedience is always paid by the people. Decades pass, but shadows never leave. Pakistan's history is a hall of mirrors reflecting the same patterns over and over. Every new chapter begins with hope, yet ends with whispers of the past. The ghosts of leaders who were once celebrated and then abandoned linger in every decision, every compromise, every silent nod to foreign agendas. After the Cold War, Pakistan found itself in a strange limbo. The world applauded its resilience, yet subtly dictated its path. Leaders emerged, promising change, speaking boldly of independence, yet the weight of old habits was heavy on their shoulders. Every move was scrutinized, every ambition measured against interests far beyond the country's borders. The lessons of Zia's era were clear. Loyalty to foreign powers brings temporary gain, but long-term consequences are paid by the people. Generations of Pakistanis grew up seeing power as a game, one where the stakes are always higher than they realize, and the players are never truly free. Yet among the chaos, voices rose, voices of those who dared to challenge the invisible strings. They spoke of justice, sovereignty, and the idea that Pakistan could reclaim its destiny. Some listened, some ignored. And history, as always, recorded who acted and who remained silent. The nation watched as cycles repeated. Promises of reform crumbled under the pressure of hidden hands. Elections were won and lost, sometimes cleanly, sometimes clouded in doubt. Decisions were made behind closed doors, shaping the fate of millions without their consent. The people learned that courage and leadership could clash violently with global strategy. Still, the desire for true independence never faded. It thrived in whispers on crowded streets, in the eyes of young students, in the hearts of those who remembered that Pakistan was meant to be more than a pawn in someone else's game. That desire was stronger than fear, louder than propaganda, and more persistent than decades of manipulation. And now, in the present, echoes of history call out again. The nation faces familiar dilemmas: foreign expectations, internal compromises, and leaders whose choices will define generations. The question is no longer whether Pakistan can survive external pressures. It is whether it can survive the repetition of its own mistakes. History is not just a story of the past, it is a warning. It whispers that those who ignore the lessons of yesterday are doomed to witness them again tomorrow. And yet there is hope, because awareness is the first step toward change, because the people remember, because the nation can still reclaim its voice, if it dares to listen to its own heart instead of the world's instructions. The ghosts of the past are not gone. They are waiting, watching, reminding all who lead that freedom is not granted. It is claimed, fought for, and protected. The past never truly stays behind. Its echoes seep into the present, shaping choices, shaping alliances, shaping the dreams and frustrations of millions. Pakistan stands today at another crossroads, a nation rich in potential, yet burdened by the same patterns that have haunted it for decades. The corridors of power are familiar in their silence and secrecy. Decisions are made, influence is weighed, and promises carefully measured against unseen pressures. Every move carries the weight of history, a reminder that the world watches and waits, and that sometimes loyalty to oneself is tested more than loyalty to others. Leaders rise with the hopes of the people behind them, daring to challenge what has long been considered untouchable. Their voices carry the courage of vision, the desire to reclaim autonomy, and the ambition to chart a course defined by the nation itself. But the machinery of power honed over decades rarely relinquishes control easily. When the people cry for justice, for transparency, for the opportunity to decide their own destiny, those who hold influence often face a choice: bend to external pressures or risk isolation, both politically and economically. History whispers that those who resist are either co-opted, sidelined, or removed. The lessons of Zia, of the Cold War, and of the decades that followed are never far from the surface. They are felt in the streets, in the classrooms, in the conversations of ordinary citizens who remember a Pakistan that could have been. A Pakistan where sovereignty was not just a word, but a lived reality. And yet hope persists. It grows in the young, in the dreamers, in the hearts of those who refuse to forget. They remember the sacrifices of those who dared to challenge patterns of dependence. They remember the warnings written in the tragedies of the past, and they believe that a nation can rise again, if it dares to learn, to act, and to claim its own future. The present moment is both fragile and powerful. The stakes are higher than ever, because history has taught that mistakes compound, and the cost of obedience can no longer be measured in years. It is measured in generations. But the spirit of Pakistan endures. Its strength is not in the corridors of power, nor in the fleeting favor of distant capitals. Its strength lies in the people, In their memory, their resilience, and their unyielding desire to define their own destiny. The shadows of history are long, but they do not have to be permanent. The echoes of past mistakes can guide, not condemn. And if the nation listens carefully, it may finally break the cycle and step into a future written by its own hand, not dictated by others. Because every moment of courage, every act of awareness, and every voice raised in truth is a step toward reclaiming what has been lost, toward building a Pakistan that is truly free. Every nation has a moment when it must decide who it truly is. For Pakistan, that moment has come again. The decades of manipulation, the hidden hands, the silent deals, they have all written the same story again and again. But history is not destiny. It is a mirror, and mirrors can shatter. The ghosts of the past have spoken long enough. They whisper of loyalty sold, of independence traded for comfort, of truth buried under fear. But beyond the noise, there is another voice rising, the voice of the people. It speaks softly, yet carries the power of storms. It says enough. The story of this land was never meant to be one of submission. It was born from sacrifice, from vision, from a dream of standing tall among nations, proud, free, and self-reliant. That dream has been wounded but never destroyed. Each time history tried to silence it, someone lit a candle. Each time the powerful tried to control it, someone broke the chains. And now, as the world shifts once more, Pakistan must remember what it once promised itself: that freedom is not given, it is earned. That allies may come and go, but dignity must remain. That true strength lies not in weapons or wealth, but in the courage to speak truth, even when the cost is high. The lesson of Zia's fall, of decades of obedience and illusion, is clear. Those who trade integrity for approval end up losing both. The world respects nations that respect themselves, and the time has come to reclaim that respect, not through defiance for its own sake, but through purpose, unity, and truth. Because a new generation is watching, they do not carry the fear of the past. They carry its memory, and a promise that they will not repeat it. They see the cracks in the old system and the light shining through. They are the dawn that awaits, the answer that history has been waiting for. The choice is simple but heavy: to keep following old shadows or to create new light, to remain a pawn in other people's games or to become the author of one's own fate. And somewhere deep within every heart that still believes in Pakistan, there is a flame, small, flickering, but eternal. It is the flame of hope, of identity, of belonging. It is the reminder that no matter how long the night has been, dawn always comes. Because nations do not die when they are betrayed. They die when they forget who they are. And Pakistan has begun to remember.